Hi everyone, it's Simmer Hales and I'm back in The Sims 4. I really fancied doing an industrial build, so today we are building a property that is divided into two, so it's got two sides of the lot. So if you wanted to use it for rent, you could do that. One of the sides is completely decorated and furnished, the other side is left blank, so if you want to do your own thing with it, you can download it off the gallery and then you can design that side of the lot however you like. So if you want to go onto my gallery, it's just Simmer Hales and then you can download it, and please let me know if you do use it, what you end up doing with it. I have actually decorated it off video, the other side, and I've done it in a completely different style to the side that I'm decorating on video. So if you want me to, that one isn't currently on my gallery, but if you do want to see that, let me know and I can upload that one to the gallery as well. So this one, it starts off quite different to how it ends up, and my main issue with the downstairs was where to put the bathroom, because it looks quite a decent sized lot, but actually when you break it down into a kitchen, a bathroom and a living space, it isn't actually that big. And the upper floor is just like a maisonette floor, so you've only got enough room for the bed and some storage, and that's about it. So it's not a huge space, and I was trying to break it up with like platforms to see what I could get, but because the floor space is not that big, it wasn't really working with the platforms the way I wanted, so I gave up on the idea. I think if I'd have really stuck to it, I could have maybe make it work with platforms, but in the end, for this build, I went away from the idea of that, and it has still got some depth in it, so it has got a platform in there, but it's just not where the stairs are. So yeah, like I say, the biggest thing that I had was, where does the bathroom go and how do I fit it in with the stairs and a kitchen? And it's tricky. So I could have cut a lot of this out, but I thought actually I want you to see the process of how I got to how it ends up in the end. So this gives you a good idea of like the thought process as you're going through it, which I thought was quite a good idea. We're kind of getting too nearer to where it ends up, but there's still a little bit of a way to go. So obviously you can see we've got kind of where the bedroom will go and then a kitchen area, but then again, like I say, it's where do you put the bathroom? So this is more like how it ends up looking at the end. But I think the bathroom was the trickiest part for this one, and then the kitchen, I did want it raised because I wanted it, although it was going to be a small area, I didn't want it to look too cramped, and I thought if it's elevated, it kind of stands out a little bit, so you can see it even more. Even when you're in the living space, you can see the kitchen because it's eye level. So I just thought it, even though it's the same amount of space, I just thought it looked, I don't know, maybe on like another level, it just looks like there's more space than there is. So that was my idea of raising the kitchen up, just so, yeah, it's definitely, it's more of a feature, the kitchen. And I thought it went with the aesthetic of it being something that had been previously used, and they've kept the flooring the same. So maybe it was an office and that was maybe the manager's office or something. And then, because there's a lot of exposed brick in this one, and I think with that, it's like it's a repurposed space, so it's how you use that space. So yeah, I was trying to think of all that as I was building, and that kind of it affected the way that I would have built it if it wasn't an industrial style, and that's why I wanted to go down the road of an industrial build, because I just thought it gives you a story behind the building as well, because it's not necessarily a new building if it's got this industrial style. So this one is definitely based on a repurposed space, and that's what I wanted to come across in the final result. I wanted it to look like a repurposed space, but that they've made the most of each space as well. So I've tried not to waste any space in this one. As much as possible, I've tried not to waste space. So the front door is a bit big. I could have maybe put a smaller front door in just so that you've got that extra space there. But other than that, I think most of the space has been utilised pretty well. And as you can see, I just made it a bit smaller there because I wanted it to kind of be a tiny build, but not. So I wanted it to feel like they've really had to think about using the space properly. And you usually get that in tiny builds, but it isn't a tiny build because obviously I've got the empty building next door. So, but I just really liked the idea of having neighbours with the same lot, but they decorated it in two completely different styles, which is why I left one empty. I thought if other people want to do that, it's a great way to show complete contrasts of decorated styles. So yeah, it'd be great to see on the gallery. And if you do use this, let me know and just tag it as #SimmerHills, and then I'll have a look to see if there is any. But yeah, it'd be really nice to see if anybody does use this build in their game. But I quite enjoyed it, and I did play test it as well to make sure it all worked, and it did. So at least I know the functionality of everything in this living space works as well. So, and as you can see, there's quite a lot of space around the outside of the building as well, but I do put trees and stuff there so it doesn't look just like it's been plonked on this lot. So they haven't got a garden because it's supposed to be like an old warehouse, but they've got a front yard. It's not a typical garden. You can't really use the space there, but they've got a front garden, as if you want to call it a garden, but no place where they can go and sit outside because it's definitely they've just used the warehouse space. So yeah, there is no garden unfortunately in this one, but yeah, it's a nice little lot anyway. There is room at the back though. If you did want to add a garden, there is room at the back, but the only problem is it's where you'd have to kind of lose some space inside to be able to get into the back. So that's where the trickiness comes in, because you're wanting to use all of the space that you've got. I suppose you could put a door next to the bottom of the stairs to the back, possibly. That might be a way around it. I didn't think about that while I was building it, but I just thought about it now. And that is a way around it. You could do it that way. But I wouldn't want to waste any of that space at the back of the building, because obviously you've got the bathroom taking up some of that space, the kitchen, and then the under the stairs bit, which we do utilise soon. So all of that space is used, and I wouldn't particularly want to waste any of that just for a door to the back garden. So that's some thinking as well. The kitchen took a little bit of work because it's on a platform as well. I couldn't have full height upper cabinets because they came down too low to the other cabinets, because this is actually only short wall height, it's not tall wall height, although it feels taller because you've got the open area at the front of the building. So I added a dark ceiling in the kitchen as well, just to make it feel a little bit more cozy. And then the platform I just coloured in like a sandy colour because I thought that went with the worktops and the stairs. So everything all kind of, it all looks like it belongs together. So we've got quite a lot of black, and then we've got the wooden tones and the brick in this. So definitely I think all of that adds to that industrial feeling. And then the touches of like the sand colour, or like this, it's actually yellow, but I think it goes really well with the other, like the different wooden tones, because not all of the wooden tones in this one are the same. So we've definitely got a variety of wood tones in this one. And then as you can see, I've used this back area under the stairs as a computer area. So there's loads of storage over here, and then there's the computer. I've used like an open shelf downsized a desk, like the smallest desk that I can find in the game. It does get covered up later on with some more storage actually, but I have play tested and it still works, so you don't end up seeing the desk under the shelf. We do cover that up, but I just think, yeah, I think it looks like something that's custom made for this space, which is nice. The only thing I've found, and I don't know if it's a glitch in my game, is if I click on the computer, the Sims don't tend to go to it. Doesn't say they can't, they just don't. But if I sit them down first and then use the computer, they use it fine. So it could be just a glitch with my game, I'm not sure, but it is something that keeps happening. So if I just click on the computer and ask them to use a function on it, they just don't go and sit and do it. It's like they ignore me until I ask them to sit down first. So maybe the Sims in my game are just lazy. I'm not sure what it is, but that's the issue that I'm having. So now the bathroom, I would have loved to put a bath in here, but it just wasn't working. I could have used cheats like downsizing the sink and the toilet, but I don't particularly like to do that. So I decided to just go without a bath. I just thought we can make a nice shower room rather than trying to squeeze a bath in. So I went with the option of a nicer shower room without a bath. So that's what we ended up with. And then we've just used this cabinet just to make a custom made storage area. So we've got the towels in there. And just added some extra decorations like toilet rolls and bathroom accessories as well. So we've got a few different things on the shelving unit. The only difficulty with this is I had to size the shelving unit down to make it look like it fit in this space, because it is quite cramped. But then you're having to slot things where they would normally slot before you can slot things where you want them to slot, because otherwise they try to jump to the places where they should be, but obviously the shelves are not at the height that they should be. So it's a bit of jiggling things about to make it fit when you're resizing objects and then trying to slot things onto them. So I made it a bit more harder for myself there than it needed to be, but I just thought this shelf looked a bit more, I thought it suited the style of this build, because it was a bit more, it fit with the industrial kind of theme a little bit more. And some of the inbuilt ones, they just didn't really work with this theme. So, but yeah, we've got the bathroom done, kitchen, and the little computer area. So onto the living space. And even though it looks quite big as an open area, it's kind of an awkward shape with the big window and door. But I suppose that's the compromise when you've got one of these industrial style properties, is where you've got to work around the original build features. So that's one of the issues we had here. So with the big window, couldn't put a TV there because the window's taking up the space. So I thought I'll just put it on one of the TV stands or side units, and then I furnished the room around the fire and the TV, to be honest. So I downsized the fire because it just looked too close to the TV cabinet. I'm not sure if it looks okay sized down, but I just thought if you was having a fire, you wouldn't want your TV that close to it, so that's why I resized it, although it's still very close. But that was the reason that I sized it down. And actually it made sense because I could fit another object at the other side of the fire as well. So it just gave me that little bit of extra usable room as well by resizing it. So I've gone quite bold with the colour of the furniture, with like this kind of burnt orange stroke red type colour for the sofa and the chair as well. But I think that works really well with the brick, and yeah, it's got like the tones of that, but it stands out as well. And then these bookshelves as well, I can't remember which, they came with one of the kits, I can't remember the name of the kit, but I love the fact that there's different swatches on there. So you've got maybe 4 swatches of the brown shelving unit, and then the books are slightly different colours, so it looks like you've got different books in each one rather than just repeating the same shelf, which is what we had with like the base game bookshelves. So these are really nice because you can have multiple of them and it looks like there's all different books on them. So we definitely need that with more objects in The Sims because of things like the lack of the colour wheel. Having these different swatches just means it breaks it up and you're not using the same objects over and over and over again. And then for the TV cabinet, I've used some of the books that we've got and then just stacked them up next to each other so it looks like a line of books underneath the TV cabinet as well. And then where the doorway is, I wanted a dining area because obviously there's no room in the kitchen. So we've got a dining room, a dining table as you walk in. But to me, this is the best use of the space because where else is it going to go? You know, and I didn't want the living room right next to the door. So the living room's basically in front of the window, and in front of the door you've got the dining area. And I think that works well. I mean, if it was real life and not The Sims, they could pass food over the kitchen barrier to people at the table. But obviously this is The Sims, so it doesn't work like that. But it's nice to imagine if it was real life, that's how it would work. So just thinking practically, and I think this layout is probably the most functional layout for this kind of space. And then yeah, this is just the way that it's kind of naturally come together for me. And then I decided to make a custom rug as well for this one. So it was finding rugs that go with each other and have similar colours so that it would look like it is just one rug. And I think it's definitely a feature in the room. It's definitely an unusual one, but let me know what you think of this one. It is, yeah, you'd probably love it or hate it, this one, but I think the colours go quite well in here, and at least it's different. It's not using one of the standard rugs, so we've got something a little bit different in here. I did try a few different colour combinations, but I just went with neutral colours in the end. I think you've got the bold colour on the sofas and some of the accessories as well. So I think the neutral colours on the rug kind of suit this room. So yeah, we've got enough focal points in here. We don't need another one. And then it's just accessorising this area because I think it's pretty much furnished now, and it's just adding those extra details that make it feel a little bit more homely. So I was thinking about what objects would go in this area. So as you can see, I've got some records out, and the reason I've put some things on the floor is because I wanted to manually slot them, but rather than do it all at once, I wanted to get a few objects out. So I've got things like a plant for the back, and it took me ages to slot that because of the shelves underneath. It wanted to slot to them. Yeah, because I've tried to customize a lot of things, trying to slot things, it just doesn't work normally. So it took a bit longer just to place objects that should normally not take very long. And I've cluttered one corner of the kitchen. The reason I've only cluttered one corner is so that you've got plenty of worktop space for when your Sims are cooking. They've got room to put pots down, or yeah, but I've only cluttered one area. And also because it's quite a small kitchen as well, I just thought this back area is kind of tucked away or the most out of sight. So I thought it looked better with all the clutter just in the back corner and keep the other area a bit more streamlined and clean. But we have got the hung up knives and the hung up utensils, and then you've got the coffee maker and then the clutter. So definitely plenty in this kitchen, even though it's very small. And I think eventually I did hang some pans up as well next to the sink, on the wall next to the sink. just to finish that off. And also I love the way the lights match the whole kind of colour scheme as well. So you've got like they're not, I don't know if they're quite gold, maybe like a really pale gold, but I think they match the colour scheme really well as well. And the little shelf that's hung up above the microwave, that's from Tiny Living, I think it's from Tiny Living, might be wrong. It's either Tiny Living or Eco Lifestyle. I always get those two confused. But that's a great little item as well, because you can just squeeze that in, sometimes resize it, and it's just a great little item to have. And then instead of having ceiling lights, I've put lots of wall lights, just because the ceiling has obviously got the glass panels in, so it's difficult to try and get ceiling lights. I could have put them more at the edge, but I just thought the wall lights worked better in here, so I did use a few different wall lights just because of the glass ceiling, basically. I added some artwork and also a big mural, so that it was like a nod to whatever the building had been used for before it became a residential lot. So yeah, I've tried to put a nod back to its history, but yeah, there's plenty of little details like that. So you've got the exposed brick, you've got the big mural and things like that. And then after the mural, it's just on to finishing touches. So I do extend the wall where the fire is, so it looks like it's a chimney. And then we'll get on to cluttering up the upstairs area, the balcony that is a bedroom. I think even though it's quite a small area, you can fit enough on there for a bedroom. So a bed and 2 wardrobes is not too bad, plus extra storage. And I've tried to clutter this area up so it looks really well lived in as well. Because obviously if you've not got many cupboards and things, you're going to have more out on display than if you've got loads of wardrobes and loads of places that you can put your kind of extra bits and bobs in. So yeah, I think when you've got less storage, you're going to have more on display, unless you're really good at minimalism. But the person who lives in this one isn't. they've got quite a few bits of clutter, so I've put their clutter on display. They're definitely not a minimalist in this one. I think with all the books I've got as well, that it's just not a minimalist person's house. And again, we've got a lot of more of, they're not just slotted in their usual place on here, so I've manually slotted items on this unit as well. And again, we've got some of the colours from downstairs up here with the blacks and like the pale golds again. So I think it is quite a cohesive colour scheme throughout the whole building, and you've got the pop of red as well. So hopefully it brings in the upstairs and the downstairs. There's a couple more pictures with a bit more colour on upstairs, but other than that, I think the colour scheme is pretty consistent throughout that one. So I did raise the building as well. I just thought with it being industrial, it would suit it more on a platform, so I did raise it up, and I think it looks better being raised rather than at ground level. I did want to do the platform stairs, but it doesn't work going up to a raised foundation. You have to do, it's really awkward, because if you want to do the platform entrance, you have to not use a foundation and have the whole building on a giant platform. And I just didn't want to change everything after I'd started it. So if I wanted to do that, I should have probably done that from the beginning, which in hindsight I kind of wish I'd have done. But the way these are with the staircases going up, I do think it's more like the properties you might get in somewhere like London, where they've got the tall stairs going up to the Victorian buildings and things like that. So it depends which style you like. I would have actually really liked the platform stairs, But I should have maybe thought about that from the beginning and done that from the beginning. So it's just one of those things, like if you've missed it, I could have changed it, but it would have been a lot of work, because once you start adding platforms to the whole of the inside, it just causes problems, especially when you've manually slotted a lot of items as well. So I would say if you want to do it that way, get your platforms in from the beginning, and then you can sort out your entrances and things like that. But yeah, I'm happy with the overall front of the lot. I think it's worked out okay. Despite that, I think it's worked out all right. And then I've just filled this garden with plants to make it look like they've put some effort in and made it nice. And then the garden for the next door one, I've kind of put some plants in that could look like weeds, or like it's just not been as well maintained. So you can see the difference in the two sides. And then, as I say, if you do want to download this, you can then decorate it to the style of whoever you want to get to move into that side. So I think then each side of the property has got its own personality. So I liked the idea of that they're the same building, but they've been personalised to whoever lives in them. So that's pretty much the end of the build. Just a couple of little decorating bits for landscaping, and then it's all finished. We've got these trees and just some rocks as well, and I just think it fills out that space, and it looks like maybe they've always been there, and then this industrial build's been transformed. So let me know what you think. If you do use it, please do let me know. And as I say, my gallery name is the same as here on YouTube, so it's just Simmer Hales. And I've got a building that I'm what do you call it, a shell challenge that is coming next. So I'll see you in the next one. Take care everyone, have a great week. Bye.